Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready.
Already.
It's so weird. All right.
You're too.
And today we were actually talking about this not too long ago, and we were thinking Drake's got a couple of friends that are interested in Warhammer. Haven't played yet, but they've heard from Drake. Drake, what are you telling your friends that make them interested?
I tell them, oh, there's this miniature war game where you do this and this and this.
Like what? Like, and then how do you get them to say, "Cool, let me try," instead of, let me tell you about my video game.
Oh, you mean
until they change the subject.
Okay. I say, and so it's like you have however so many guys, and the other person has however so many guys, and you take turns rolling dice and moving them and using them in things.
Using them in things.
And using them to do things, and make the enemy pick up his toys, and it's fun.
All right. Well, however they get excited for it. We've had a couple of people who are interested, and what Drake and I have discussed is what should be the first army they play with. Now, this is a different discussion. Sometimes people say, well, what should a new player's first army be? And I don't know that that's a super helpful thing to discuss. Because if you like an army, then that should be the one, right? If you think the Cow Elves, the Lumineth, are cool, they're considered to be a little bit more difficult to paint. They're considered to have a little bit more complicated rules. But if that's the thing that captures your imagination and makes you want to play, then that's also going to be the thing that makes you, get through painting them.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be the thing that makes you want to play it on the table and learn the rules. So I don't think that, when people say, oh, you should get such and such, it's a good new army. It's a little, a little condescending. Certainly there are armies that are easier to paint. Stormcast is a great example. It's just gold
and blue trim.
Little blue trim, little brown belts, and you're good. So there is that to consider. Cost is a consideration. Some armies, especially the stuff with newer kits, tends to be a little bit more expensive. So I'm not saying that those considerations aren't valid. They are. But really, I think the most important consideration is, do you think the models are cool?
Yeah.
So let's put that aside. So we're not saying this should be these kids' first army that they get and collect and what would be good, because they'll figure that out. But they've never played a game before.
Yeah.
They don't know how Warhammer works.
No.
They have no idea.
No.
So the question is, all right, if you want to play a first game with somebody, you want to teach them the basics of Age of Sigmar, what army do you give to them?
I've got 4 of that.
You've got 4?
Might be good.
Well, let's talk about what makes a good army. What makes a good, not a starter army, but a good learning army that you're going to give to your opponent and help them through the game, right? You're not going to crush them the first time. You're not going to be like, haha, I've played 100 times and you played none. Crush, crush, crush. No, you're going to play nice, right? But what would a learning army have that makes them a good choice?
Easy to make the narrative out of.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that, but that is a good one, I think. When you're first teaching Warhammer, I was thinking more nuts and bolts, like what rules would be good. But I think that's such a great point. You want an army that they can see the story, because the nuts and bolts might be easy, but if they can't see the story, if they don't see it on the table, it's not going to be super fun. So that's a really good call, Drake. I like that. I think that you want to have armies that are on, if over here is Horde and over here is Elite, you want more towards that side.
Like right here.
Doesn't have to be super elite. Like you don't necessarily want to play Sons of Behemoth, right? Have one big Gargant, right? That might
Can
not
you
be.
play them at 1,000 points?
Yeah, I'm sure you could have 2 megas probably, but I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying I don't know that that's the best choice. I think you want an army that's going to function well at around 500 to 700 points.
Yeah.
Right? Somewhere right around in there. I don't think the exact point number is super important because, first of all, the armies aren't geared to be played really competitively at that low point.
Yeah.
But also, if there's going to be a point imbalance, you sort of want to be that point imbalance in their favor, right?
Yeah.
So they have a better shot. So they feel like once some of their guys get killed, that they've got more guys behind it, right? They get a better experience. But that's one thing I think. What else would we want to see from a learning army?
You would probably want to see the models looking fun.
Yep, you want to see stuff that has good models. So you don't necessarily want to bring out the oldest stuff in your collection, right? You want to bring out some things that are cool. And that's going to be very person to person, right?
Yes.
Somebody might look at Night Haunt and say, oh, this is so cool. I definitely want to play Night Haunt. And somebody else might be like, ghosts. And then see Flesh Eater Court ghouls and be like, oh, I want to play those ghouls, right? So that's going to be, you're going to have to tailor a little bit to the person that's learning, for sure. Another thing I think we want to see is that the battle traits, not necessarily, the war scrolls are just going to be what they are. But I think you want battle traits that are either very straightforward or that you can pare down to just the essentials.
Yeah.
Right? So just as an example, Cruel Boys are great for this because you can have battle trait of Mortals on Sixes. Mortals on Sixes, right? That's a solid battle trait. It's gives a good feel for the army. It's super easy to understand. The player will understand what that means. But I would get rid of Cruel Boy Wah. I would get rid of Dirty Tricks. Now, on a second or third game, as they get more into it, sure, you can add that in. But for the very first learning game, they're just learning what a D3 is, right? They're just learning. You want to keep the battle traits pretty simple. And the reason I think is, War Scrolls can be a little bit more complex because it's right there, right? They can look at the War Scroll and be like, oh, what do I hit on? Oh, what's the special power? It's all right there. But the battle traits are the things they're going to have to sort of remember. Yeah. Right? And you don't, there's already a lot to remember in the game.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't want to put more on them than they need.
Yeah.
Any other qualities that we should look at?
Just for an army in general, or?
In general, before we get to our specific picks.
I think an army in general can't have, like, oh, this guy does this, but that can be buffed by that, which buffs from this, which will counter effect this.
Yes. So, every army has a little bit of that in it, right? As you create your power pairs and your buffs and stuff like that.
But you don't want, like, the Bubble of Doom.
But I think for a learning game, you probably don't want too much of that, if any.
You don't want the 2.0 Night Haunt Death Star.
Yeah, because you don't want to say, all right, well, these units are all really good together and they're all very powerful and then they're very competitive. But on your first game, it's really easy to accidentally have something outside of 9 inches. Oh, shoot, I moved it. They were within bubbles, and then one unit charged, and this guy didn't charge, and now they're out of bubbles.
Yeah, that can be really annoying.
Yeah, super annoying for somebody that's just learning how to play. They're just learning how to roll 2 hit and then 2 wound. What are mortals again? When do I roll a save? Right, they're learning the basics.
And then they have to worry about Bubbles of Doom.
Yes, you don't want to. The positioning game comes later, right?
The positioning game comes much later.
I think that is a good. So every army has a little bit about that. So I think that's good for when we're looking at lists, right? If you're going to make a list for your buddy to play so that they can learn Warhammer, you want to make a list where everything is either an independent operator or you have maybe a power pair like the
Chain Ghasts
Ballista. Oh yeah, like the Chain Ghasts and the Spirit Torment.
Because those guys
or
go
like
on opposite
the Ballista and the Lord Ordinator, because the Lord Ordinator buffs ballistas, right?
Ooh.
So stuff like that, where just 2 things that sort of work together well, that would be fine.
Yeah.
But when you get into like lots of different bubbles and different areas, the more of that, the worse it's going to be. Don't include any of that. Okay, let's talk about some of our picks for a good learning army. I'm going to start with the one I mentioned already, Cruel Boys. I think Cruel Boys are a good learning army. The models look cool, at least to me. I think those are the coolest looking orcs.
Second coolest for me.
You like Ironjawz better?
Oh, a million times. Gordrak's on a giant cabbage.
I think Gordrak. I think the Ironjawz are cool too. I'm not saying they're bad. I just like the more lanky, creepy ones than I like the just big muscle screamers. Okay. But anyway, but I think the models look good. I think the story is there. The battle traits are easy, and the models, for the most part, especially if you're only going to play a small game, right? You're not bringing in Gobsprakk or anything. You're playing a small game. It's very easy to understand what gut rippers do.
Yeah.
It's very easy to understand what a Killaboss on Gnashtooth does.
Big thing that hits things.
Right? Yeah, you're not doing a lot of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
All right, what else would you pick?
Gits.
All right, Gloomspite. What kind of Gloomspite?
Trolls.
Trolls. I agree. I think trolls are probably your best bet. Although I could see Squigs. I could see Squigs.
Not MoonClan. MoonClan too many things.
Yeah, too hordy.
And then spiders just now.
Spiders too ugly. Too ugly. So why trolls?
Because there's not a lot of them, which leans towards elite, which is good. No cure fish shenanigans, which is also good.
Okay.
They're big things that will hit hard and be scary. And they're survivable.
Yeah, I think that trolls are actually a great list because one, you don't have to worry about any battle traits really. If you don't want to have the bad moon show up, you can just play without the bad moon because the Gloomspite, almost all of their power comes from the War Scrolls. Yeah. The bad moon provides a minor buff. And the Loon Shrine is impactful, but you don't need it for a learning game, especially when you have so few units on the table, right? Yeah. So that's an easy one, and I feel like Trolls is such a good choice because you just bring them in, you bring in some Rock Guts, and a Dank Hold, and a Trog Boss, maybe. That might be good. That is a little on the elite side. It's a little, you might want to, I think that's the one negative, but they're going to have a blast because they're going to just rush into your guys. And if you bring your little 1 or 2 wound infantry, they are going to get crushed. So I think and that'll be fun for them, right? They'll have a blast just smashing you with trolls and stuff. So I think Gloomspite Gits is a good one. One, it's a little cliche, but I think it's very true. I think Stormcast is a great
you stole
choice.
One. I have.
So I think Stormcast is great because they're elite-ish, but they're not super elite. They're not trolls, right? You can have a couple like units. You can have like 2 battle line units and some annihilators or something. It's like something that's a little bit heavier, and then go to town because they're tough.
Yeah,
they've got that good armor save. So as long as you're not doing something with crazy mortals, right? You're not splashing magic at them all the time with Croak or Tzeentch or something. They're going to hit hard. They're going to do good. They also die, and you're going to feel like, okay, I'm losing my mans, but I still got more. So those are good. And their battle traits, as long as you pick Scions of the Storm,
which is
the standard one,
where you drop.
Super easy. Their only power is they can deep strike. Yeah, they come in from reserve. Easy. Just telling you come in 9 inches away. And 2, they explode when they die. Yeah. And you can help them remember that. So...
do the Stormkeep guys not explode?
The Stormkeep guys do. Everybody explodes. But Stormkeep guys don't deep strike. Stormkeep guys have to all start on the board.
That's awful.
But they get bonus objective control.
You just wouldn't bring Annihilators in.
Yeah, Annihilators, because they come down. Their whole thing is coming down, so... But anyway, the Stormcast, I think, are really good because they're these golden warriors. Things. They're big. They're sort of cool. They're also the good guy faction.
The only one.
They're basically the only good guys.
And even then, some of them are pretty bad.
Yeah. So I think...
Hammers of Sigmar are the only good.
No, Hollow Knights.
Hammers and Hollowed.
But if you're playing with somebody who really wants to be the good guys, the heroes, Stormcast is great because you can tell them all the good parts of their lore. Now, that's not to say you can't make others. You could make Fyreslayers sound heroic. There are other things you could do, especially in order, that would be heroic. But Stormcast, I think, are probably the easiest.
Oh, yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Ghosts.
Nighthaunt. All right. So Nighthaunt is to me, the question mark because they have a lot of bubbles. They have a lot of recursion where you need to be able to cast spells and stuff to get your guys back. So why do you think Nighthaunt?
This might be good for not your first game, but your second or third game where you can start forays into magic in the hero phase.
Yeah, I think so. I think that. Yeah. I also think you have to worry about their battle traits a little bit because they have a million of them. So you have to sort of say, all right, we're going to keep Ethereal.
I would say Frightful Touch and Ethereal, yeah. But the reason I say it is you could have an army of the Guardian of Souls, because that's like you need it.
Mm-hmm.
You would have like maybe 2 bricks of Min Chain Rasps or 1 brick of big ones. Maybe some Blade Geists for heavy hitting. And then a Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed for cavalry.
There's definitely stuff you could do. I just think you're going to have to know your audience a little bit. Yeah. I mean, if somebody, like the only reason they want to learn is to play those ghosts, then you ghost it up, right? But I think that with the ghosts, you might have to help them a little bit more. You might walk them through some extra things. So ghosts are the question mark for me. I don't know if I'd pick ghosts.
You?
Let me think. Are there anything else? Oh, another one. Oh, you have one more?
Hedon Knights.
Oh, no way. Not even.
What do you mean?
Never. Mm-mm. No.
Not Slash?
Terrible.
That's
terrible. No. Because there's the summoning, so you have to get rid of that. Their main mechanic, which is the depravity.
That's what you keep.
And the euphoric killers, but they're not going to know when to do it. Right? It's a first game. Now, if
like in their third
if you're asking me, would it be a good first army for somebody who's going to take it and they've already learned the basics and they're going to play it time and again and again and again?
Oh, I thought it was like our 4th or 5th. Like
no.
The first 5
It's your learning army.
Oh.
What are you going to tell your friend when he's like, well, let me learn how to play? No, not Hedon Knights.
Then I have nothing.
Yeah, not Hedon Knights. The only other one I could see as a potential would be Nurgle.
Oh, yeah, Nurgle one, yeah.
Especially on the demon side, because you could bring in some Plague Bearers.
Some Nurglings for just Tar Pits of Doom.
Yeah, you could bring in some stuff, and they get that 5-up ward, and a ward is psychologically very satisfying.
Yes.
Because when they attack you, you get your save, and the damage goes through, and you still get another shot.
Yeah.
Even though it's still just dice, and the average is law of large numbers, they're going to average out. But you feel like, I got that extra chance to get rid of the damage. That feels good, and having an army-wide 5-up, you wouldn't do the Cycle of Corruption.
Oh, no.
Right? You just keep them at that 5-up ward.
5-up ward.
And then maybe, and then do diseases. Yeah. 5-up ward and diseases.
Because I would be like, no diseases, that would be like playing 1.0 Nurgle.
Yeah. If you had the 5-up ward and the diseases, and you would have to sort of help keep track of the diseases, right? But those two things, I wouldn't do summoning or the cycle. But I think that would be a potential. And I think Nurgle has really cool models. And if somebody sees them in your cabinet, it's like, oh, what are these gross things? These are so cool. I think that would be a good one to say, oh, well, you want to learn how to play?
Papa Nurgle.
Yeah, talk to Papa Nurgle. So those would be my picks. Now, there are a couple I would stay away from. I would stay away from Slaanesh. I would stay away from Tzeentch. I would stay away from Kharadron.
The tissue paper army.
Daughters would be pretty hard too. I'd probably stay away from Daughters. I would well, you know what? Coalesced Starborn might not be bad.
Yeah, Starborn though.
I mean, no, Coalesced Seraphon. Oh. That's what I meant. Starborn, might be not great.
Stay away from Soulblight. Millions and millions of models.
I think you could make a list of Soulblight that wouldn't be bad. I think you could make a list.
We just go the Varden guys, the guys that make Zombie Dragons Battleline. Just have 3 Vamp Lords.
Too late. No, don't
just
do that.
Have 3 Vamp Lords on Zombie Dragons.
No.
Wait, would they be battling? Could
they
fill 2 roles at once?
No. So, but I would be interested to know what you think. So again, not a first army that you're going to play over and over and over, because I think really that can be almost anything.
Yeah.
But you're learning. You're letting your friend borrow an army so that they can learn how to play. What do you think? What are the best armies to learn the game on for 2, 3, 4, 5 games as they start small and get up to 2,000 points, and then they're hooked, and then they want to buy an army, and then they can get basically whatever they want? What are the best learning armies? What would you give your friend to learn the game? Please let us know in the comments below. Would love to hear your suggestions. These are ours. What did we come up with? Stormcast, Cruel Boys,
Nighthaunt,
Gitz, potentially Nighthaunt, Nurgle. Ogres might not be bad.
I would personally say too much dumb fun.
Well, that's a learning game.
I know it.
That would be fun when your ogre come in and start eating. I like the eating versus. That's the only thing I would keep is the eating versus. Oh no, you don't want to keep ogre charges. Oh yeah.
It's too hard to decide because they have so many.
I put ogres in the same category as Nighthaunt.
I put them like one category behind
So anyway, let us know your thoughts. But I do think Cruel Boys, Stormcast, and
Gits and Nurgle
and Trolls are definitely
in the running.
Among the top. They're top tier. They're S tier. And then it goes down from there.
Ogres are C tier.
Well, this has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Oh,
Thanks so much for watching.